Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Justin Young. He is Josh Tech. This is the Fast Break right here on Hoop Scene on X and on YouTube. We're streaming live today. We're talking about the Georgia High School Basketball State Championships. First day of action is in the books down at the Macon Centralplex, the Macon Coliseum, whatever we want to call it these days, down in middle Georgia. We had some really fun action last night with North Oconee beating Holy Innocents, and of course Greenforest continuing their Class A domination in the Peach State with their win over Manchester. We're going to get into both of those games, rapid reaction, and then we're going to do it again tonight after the games, again following up the action down in Macon. First of all, Josh, how you doing this morning? Everything good?
Man, everything's going great. Today is the first day of true day basketball in March. We've got a lot of conference tournaments starting today, and you know, as a nerd, that this is my favorite time of year. This is going off the rails already, but today we've got the OVC, we've got the Valley, the Missouri Valley, we've got the ASUN, we've got the Sun Belt, we've got the Horizon, we've got the WCC, and we've got the Patriot League.
And I love it too, because a lot of those schools are schools that come and recruit our events. A lot of guys on those teams are players that we've seen over the years.
Yep.
To me, it is a lot of guys that we're going to talk about today in the state championship recaps are guys that usually go on to those schools and have that same sort of success in the postseason. Yeah. And I've always said this: coaches at that level are the best recruiters because you have to really evaluate the right guys for your fit, and to know who's going to play well for you on that stage, I think is a really difficult thing to do in basketball recruiting. And I'm with you, man. I think these games are so fun. We saw it the other night. KJ Johnson, buzzer beater for North Alabama, beating Lipscomb, his old team, no less. KJ Johnson is a hoop scene legend. He came and played with us quite a bit with EAB. That was an unbelievable outcome.
Those ASUN games were incredible. That is like that portends well for the tournament, the NCAA tournament, because it's just like, this is the most unpredictable year I could think of in recent memory. I don't know who's going to – I think the top three, UConn, Purdue, Houston, is pretty solid as like those are the top three, and there's a gap. But those teams after that gap, anybody can lose to anybody. Anybody can beat anybody.
Yeah, I think we need to probably live stream next week once these tournaments are over, once we have some bracketology going to get into.
Hell yeah.
I know you'd like that. All right, we're getting off the rails a little bit, which I'm not always fine with. I love going off the rails, but
here's a tie back in, because we got day basketball in Macon today too.
We do have day basketball. Let's start with yesterday's day basketball with Greenforest. They played Manchester in the Class A Division II state championship. Greenforest, they won pretty handedly. I mean, it was 68-39. I thought their totality, their combination of size, which I thought was a difference maker.
Yep.
Really, ultimately, their guards, I thought, were the kind of story of this whole season. They're bigs, and they're big, and they're so strong. And like Manchester just didn't have the power to meet up with those guys. What were your impressions with Greenforest, not just this game, but this entire season?
I mean, like you said, this entire season, it's been a reversal of what we've come to know of Greenforest. It's been, for the last few years, it's been trotting out multiple lines of 7-footers, it feels like. But this year it was two guards who, or I think it's safe to say, are on the smaller side of the guards, who have carried the team most of the way. But I think yesterday was a culmination of everything. It was both their guards playing pretty well, and then both their primary bigs playing pretty well as well. So I think it was a complete effort against Manchester in the A Division II win.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. Yeah, I thought they turned it up the second half. The first half was kind of rugged. Neither team, I felt like, really kind of found their pace. The second half, I think that's where the depth, I think that's where the size and the strength really kind of closed the gap.
Yeah, Elijah Lewis, I mean, he's been their leader all season at the guard spot, and he had 18 points. He was fantastic again. Caleb Coella, big forward for them. Awesome. Not the typical 7-footer kind of forward, but more of a stocky kind of powerful forward. He had a double-double for them, so another great complete performance from the Eagles.
We'll have some clips on Hoop Scene Georgia account later today for some of the highlights that I saw. I thought there was some fun stuff to really see, that we want to get into that. To me, the bigger conversation really is about Greenforest and where they stand now, not just in Georgia, but really in the Southeast and maybe even the country as far as a real powerhouse is concerned. Since this championship last night, or yesterday afternoon rather, puts the Eagles in some rare air for Georgia high school basketball. Since 2013, this is now their 5th state championship. They won in 2013, 2014, 2017, 2022, and 2024. Rory Griffin, their head coach, I think was the head coach of the last 3. When did Larry Thompson go over to Wheeler? Was it 2017? I think it was. I think this is Rory's 3rd state championship there at Greenforest. But now what does this do? This puts the Eagles in some really interesting place. Wilkinson County, before they split it up in Division I, Division II, they used to have a Class A private and a Class A public. Wilkinson County under Dr. Aaron Jeter has been a dynasty. They've won more state championships than any program in the state since, I think maybe ever, but definitely since 2000. But since 2013, they've won 6. Pace Academy's also won 6. Wheeler's only won. Wheeler's won 4. St. Francis has won 4, but Greenforest is sandwiched in the middle of that. And some really rare air since 2013. There's been so many great players and so many great teams in Georgia in that time that of all these teams, I don't know if Greenforest ever really. I think they always kind of get the asterisk. Oh, well, they're a Class A team, but those guys play anybody and everybody, whenever, wherever. And they want to compete all the time. And quite frankly, five state championships since 2013 puts them in a real special category in Georgia basketball.
That's why if you go back through our, bracket breakdowns of the state championship or anything like that, I've always just been like, yep. And Greenforest is probably going to win this. It's because they have the history. They play everybody. Like they're just in their classification, they are just different. They are a different breed of prospect. They're a different breed of program. They play everybody. They play, a lot of the teams playing for state championships, Greenforest has played throughout the season. You go back on Max Preps throughout the last few years, you'll see that they've played everybody, anybody, whenever, wherever, all of that. They've tested themselves. They have the better talent. They have the overwhelming size. This year they have the great guard play. I think that's why that we were kind of shooing them in for a state championship at this point.
Yeah, well, they got it. They won it. They won it pretty handily, 68-39 over Manchester. Manchester, great season. I think they're going to be in a store for a really good run. Great young coach, some really good players. Manchester's a fun place also to go watch some basketball. I remember doing that back in the day when Kravatny Barber, rest in peace, was the superstar down there. Ended up going on to Auburn. Incredible talent, tons of fun. That was a fun era too. Back in those days, it was Kravatny Barber. It was Contavious Caldwell Pope was coming up out of Greenville. Middle Georgia era of that time was so much fun. A lot of fun to go watch games down there in Middle Georgia as well. So again, 5 state championships since 2013 for Greenforest, really solidifying themselves as one of the premier programs in Georgia. Only 5 teams to put up 4 state championships or more in that span, and Greenforest is one of them. We appreciate everybody watching. We got a ton of people watching on the live stream, maybe the most we've ever had during the middle of the day. He's Josh Tech. I'm Justin Young. We're with Hoopsie, and we're talking about the Georgia High School Basketball State Championships. We just recapped Greenforest's dominant run in Class A Division II. And we're going to talk now about last night's game. Man, North Oconee, Holy Innocents. We had this one circled going into the week as probably one of the best games on the calendar, and it did not disappoint Josh Tech. That game was fun from tip to final buzzer.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was one of the better state championship games that I can recall seeing in recent memory. I had a blast watching it. I got that one wrong. I picked Holy Innocents to win, but North Oconee, man, they completed the culmination of their young class, their great season, the program building that they've done. Like this is the coronation of North Oconee.
I'm going to put my feather in my cap. I picked that one. I feel pretty good about that. 2-0. I think I win like a free concert hat or something like that from you if we win the bet. We didn't really put anything on the line, did we?
No, we didn't. And we didn't solidify that. Maybe we should do that for the NCAA tournament.
Well, I think you'd probably kick my freaking tail on that one, but nonetheless.
I don't know. I think this year is a pick your favorite mascots and pick the colors of jersey you like the most, and that'll end up being the best prognostication.
I feel like you're trying to pivot this into a college basketball podcast, which I respect.
I would love that.
Like that's where we're headed. Rick Rasmussen, the head coach at North Oconee, took over the program, I guess, 3 years ago now, which really is strange to say, maybe 4 years ago. But when he was at Newton, he had so many great guards that played for him over there that have all gone to have really good success in college and beyond. But he never won a state title there at Newton. It was a really tough run. There's some really good programs in the state of Georgia during that run. He goes over to North Oconee just outside of Athens, and they win one, their first ever in school history, the best season ever in school history for basketball. A really fun team, good balance. They've got great guards, but really, I thought last night the story was the national, not just the coming out party in the state, but I thought a real national coming out party for freshman Justin Wise because of the stage, because of who they were playing with Caleb Wilson and the crew that they have over there at Holy Innocents. I feel like that spotlight was huge last night. And Justin Wise, just a freshman, babyface assassin, went out there and was so clutch from the perimeter. I thought his perimeter shooting was the difference maker down the stretch for North Oconee Titans to win their state title.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a difference of one team was scoring really well around the basket in Holy Innocents, and Devin Hutcherson, Caleb Wilson were really pretty much dominant around the rim.
Yeah,
But then North Oconee's 3-point shooting, man, that was the difference maker.
it's huge.
There's a 5-point difference in the game, and you look at Justin Wise hit 5 3-pointers, Bird Carter hit 4 3-pointers. Like that's it.
Yeah, I thought Carter was huge that first half. I mean, he really set the tone, took some deep threes.
Yeah.
Really, the first quarter, he was the guy. I think it took a little bit of time for North Oconee to kind of find their rhythm. Caleb Wilson gave them so many problems on the defensive end and on the glass. And like to your point, Devin Hutcherson got to the rim wherever he wanted. He was dominant that first quarter. I think he scored 14 points in the first quarter or 12 of their first 14.
Yeah, he was like, I think he had 15. I think he had 15 and 6 and 15.6 rebounds in the first going into halftime or something like that.
But then the second half came around, and again, that perimeter shooting was a real difference maker. Justin Wise, couple of thoughts on him. There is an it factor to him that we saw back at the Elite Preview back before the season tipped off. You called, you said, man, I feel like this guy is going to be a guy that's going to be on the rise, which this is why I love that fall Elite Preview camp. The purpose of it is a true preview as to what the season is going to be. We saw that with Justin Wise. And, man, I just got the feeling like this is a kid – that's going to be on a meteoric rise in the next 24 months because of his shot making ability, because of where he's at. If this is the let me see if I can get the angles right. If this is the if I can catch it right there. If this is the chart for potential, Justin Wise is still right here, man. He's got so much more room to grow as far as a prospect is concerned. That shot making ability to me puts him in some really interesting rare air with some of the best players that I've seen come out of state. Really, truly. Like I don't want to go out there and be like, he's got Steph Curry ability, but the way that ball flies out of his hand is a little different than I've seen from other freshmen. Freshmen don't shoot the ball like that early on that big of a stage. He didn't feel like a freshman.
He showed a bit of his versatility as a scorer too. He had that one turnaround, one leg mid-range jumper. He also scored at the rim a couple times. I think that he's got more to his game than just shooting. But I'll tell you what, when I talk to college coaches, they always talk about shooting. Shooting's at a premium. I know that defense is important and all these other things, but the most valuable asset in college basketball right now is shooting. You have to be able to shoot the ball. And Justin Wise has already proven that he can do that.
There were some times too where he got switched on Caleb Wilson, and Justin Wise stood in there and did not bat an eye. I mean, he wanted to guard Caleb Wilson. Caleb Wilson, I think, is moving into a really interesting space in high school basketball and North American prospects, maybe one of the 5 best prospects, regardless of class. Like, he is a special
you want to talk about shooting? He went 3 for 4 from beyond the arc, so not a bad day for him either.
Not a bad day at all. Well, it's because a lot of times they couldn't get him in position to score down low. Yeah. I thought it was really difficult for him to really kind of set the block. And I think part of that has to
Kamari Brooks for North Oconee did a good job on him. He gives up a lot in terms of height differential, but he's a stocky guy, football player, like I mentioned on our last podcast, I believe. And he really showed it, kind of bodying up Caleb Wilson around the basket.
Help me out. I'm totally drawing a brain freeze. I didn't write down my notes. The other post player it's not Carter. Carter's their guard.
Kamari Brooks is the one, and Evan Montgomery is the other.
Evan Montgomery, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, I thought Evan Montgomery added some toughness to that.
9 rebounds.
Well. Yeah, 9 rebounds. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Caleb Wilson, listen, let's be honest. There were some moments in that game. His passing is so absurd. I mean, absurd. We talk about.
We're talking a lot about North Oconee right now. Caleb Wilson had 26 points and 18 rebounds.
Yeah, and how many they probably didn't tally up assists, but like he was all over the defensive side, really changed some stuff. I thought his passing is, to me, one of the most underrated parts of his game, truly. Like, I remember when Jalen Duren was coming up, and everybody said all this stuff about Jalen Duren. You know, so talented, so big and strong, such a great rebounder. We've seen him now as a double-double machine in the NBA. But the thing with Jalen Duren that I always loved about him was such a great passer. I think the same thing with Caleb Wilson, and like that versatility is going to make him such a hard player to guard, not just in college, but on beyond that. Really love what we saw from Caleb Wilson in the playoffs. I thought he was special. But ultimately, Holy Innocents, I just don't think that you said, would they combine for 59 points or 54 points?
Wilson and Hutcherson combined for 49 of their points, and they both had – Wilson had 18 rebounds, and Hutcherson had 13 rebounds, and in total they had 40 rebounds. So they combined for pretty much all of their production.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hell of a 1-2 punch that we see in Georgia. But ultimately, I think that balance – and Rick Rasmussen, man, the guy's such a great coach. Like, look at all the guys that have played for him. I mean, Ashton Hagans and JD Notte and oh man, I didn't have any coffee this morning, so my mind's going blank. Played at UNC Greensboro. Miller, freak athlete. Oh crap.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his first name.
Again, apologies. Sorry, I got a lot of people watching the stream. It's embarrassing for me. But he's had so many great guards that have played for him over the years. But this is the group that finally won it. And he said, I heard on the broadcast that they kept talking about, Ras kept saying this is his most balanced team he's ever had. I find that hard to believe. He had some great teams down in Newton, but we definitely saw that balance shine through last night for the Titans. And be interesting to see what their follow-up is. So they got a lot of young guys. They got a lot of young guys to play for. I do think that area out there, North Oconee, is growing quite a bit as Atlanta grows. More people maybe moving out of Gwinnett County and moving even further out, going out there to Athens area, to Clark County or Oconee County, and to enroll there at a really nice school. Interesting to see what happens here in the next couple of years with that program. Have you ever been out there?
Absolutely. And Kamari Brooks is a sophomore, and Justin Wise, like we said, is a freshman. So they've got two of their more productive players in that game last night are coming back.
Man, listen, if you're a multi-sport player, God bless you. I love it. I think it's such a huge difference. I was getting my hair cut the other day, and my buddy was asking me, like, who cuts my hair? Like, what makes a great player? And I've always said, like, look at the football. Look at how many guys are multi-sport players. Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, like these guys were multi-sport players coming up. I love when guys are multi-sport players, and we see that toughness too with so many guys that play on the football side, and how that translates into basketball. I hope we see more of that moving forward, but I digress. Who was the big winner yesterday, player and team, ultimately for you? Like who you feel like
Justin Wise and North Oconee for me.
Yeah.
And I also thought Devin Hutcherson really showed well for himself early on, especially in that Holy Innocents for Holy Innocents. I think he's a guy that last year when he's a 2026. So last year, a lot of people weren't paying attention to that class.
Sure.
As that class kind of takes a little bit of a step forward this year, I think from a local and national perspective, he'll start to gain more traction and more buzz around his name as a prospect.
Yeah, big season ahead. We'll see what he does using this as motivation to kind of go out there and slay it for those early travel events coming up this spring. Speaking of travel events, make sure you go to hoopscene.com/events. Check out our schedule for 2024. We got stuff all over the place in Georgia, Alabama, Florida, Carolinas, Tennessee, Louisville, Kentucky, Virginia. I think that's it this year for 2024. We got our elite preview or our spring preview camp coming up March 17th. That's open enrollment for all players at the high school level on the boys side. So if you're an individual player, want to go there to our camp, make sure you go over to hoopscene.com/events and go register for that as well. But tons of team events on the schedule coming up. All right, tonight we've got some good action. Actually, here in a couple hours, we got Toombs County playing Westside Augusta. Should be a really fun game. We're going to break down that game tonight, along with the 5A game, the Cal Eagles Landing matchup, which I feel like these teams play each other every single year for a title. I call this the Josh Tech Bowl. I feel like this is the game that you probably look forward to the most every year. We'll have a breakdown later tonight right here. We'll live stream it on X and on YouTube. But until then, Josh, enjoy the games, and we'll see you back on the live stream later tonight.
Yes, sir. Can't wait.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.